Hey everybody, it's me, and today we're going to take a look at membership apps. It's probably the #1 request that I've gotten over the past couple months. It's, can you create an app where my users will subscribe to the app and then receive premium content? Yes, you can, and here's how. So for our purposes today, we're going to keep it super simple, have a 3-tab app, basically keeping track of our users, keeping track of our content, and keeping track of our subscriptions. So I've already created this spreadsheet here where we have our user sheet, again, just email, name, and photo, keeping it very simple. Content, we'll have something like with posts, post image, perhaps a cost. If we're doing subscriptions for the entire app, we won't need this column. This will be more for if you're having your users purchase the content individually, right? And then, is it premium or is it free? And finally, we need an app to house all of our subscriptions. Now, Glide does have built-in Stripe integration using their buy button, but that integration does not include any sort of monthly or recurring subscriptions. So in order to have that subscription model, we need to reach out to a third-party platform. And I cannot talk highly enough of Payhere.co. They make it super easy to integrate with Stripe, but offer a variety of payment links that you can provide to your users that can be dynamic in nature, but also allow for whatever sort of subscription model you're after. They integrate with Stripe, and they have a really nice embeddable form that you can pop in right into Glide and have it talk directly to Glide. So today what we're going to do is we're going to create a subscription model in Payhere. We're going to link it to our sheet via Integromat and get our app up and going for premium content. Now, if you don't already have a Payhere account or an Integromat account, check the description below where I have my affiliate links for both of those services. All right, so let's get started. I've already created the spreadsheet. Let's dive into the app and begin creating the app. So here's Glide. Scroll to the top. New app from Google Sheets. It needs to be Google Sheets at this point because we need to have our third-party integration Payhere and Integromat talk back to our app. We can't do that with Glide tables quite yet. So I'm still using Google Sheets. I'm going to select a file, and the file is going to be my Payhere demo. Let's go ahead and search for that. There it is. And we'll give it just a second to generate our app. Beautiful. We have a few tabs here. We're not going to use all these tabs. We're really only going to use our content tab. Let's go ahead and fill that in real fast. So for our users, email should be an email field. And I'm going to go ahead and populate it here with my email address. Okay, for the content, we have post title, post image, premium content. So our premium content is going to be Boolean, whether it's true or false. Our cost, which again we may or may not use here, is our number, and it should be currency. And then post image should be an image column. All right, so let's put in some dummy data here. This is post 1, right? Post 2, post 3, and 4. All right, we'll just come up with whatever Glide gives us. Bubbles, perfect. And beach, cool. All right, if we were to come up with premium content here, right? Maybe post 3 and post 4 are premium, like so. And we don't want to just display true or false. We want to display premium or not premium. So I'm going to create an if then else. We'll call this premium display. It's going to be an if then else column where if premium content is true, then display premium, else we'll display free. And maybe we come up with a little emoji in front of it, like a diamond. Yeah, that works. Something like that. Okay, so back over here again in the content section, I'm going to hide the users section for now. Hide the subscriptions. Okay, so here's our post content. We'll come up with just real quick card layout here. Something like this, where our tag is maybe our premium display, right? So you can see what it is, and just give it a post title like that. Something very simple. Okay, now what we want to happen is that if it's free content, they can dive in and view the content. But if it's premium content, they'll instead visit a, hey, join now, right? So we need a join now tab. So I always create a join now tab because then that way throughout the app, I can just place a button wherever I want to navigate to that tab. So we're going to go ahead and create a new tab here. We'll call it join now. And this will be, you know, like fire or a crown. Premium users only, something like this, right? We use a diamond. I'm using that diamond reference. So for the users tab, we need to filter this tab where user is the signed in user. So I'm going to go to details, options, and then filter where email is the signed in user. So that way everybody gets their own join now, right? And then we're eventually going to place some text on here and a button that says subscribe. All right, so that subscribe is going to be a payment link, right? So if you haven't yet created your Stripe account, go ahead and do that. So you go to stripe.com and create a free Stripe account. Afterwards, again, you can check the description for my Payhere affiliate link. Click on that link and that'll take you to payhere.co. I'm going to go ahead and sign in with my account. And you can, if you haven't yet played around with Payhere in your settings, you can choose your color and your logo and things like that. And then the main section here is payment links. And so what you do is you just create a new payment link. And you create as many payment links as you want. If you want to have a monthly versus a yearly subscription, that'd be two different links for the same product, right? So I created a payment link here called monthly subscription demo. What I did was I just clicked on new payment link and it brought me to this screen. I chose that it was a subscription. I named it something, right? Gave it a price of $1 and set the billing interval to month. And you can see now that's grayed out, right? So once you've saved your changes for the payment link, you can no longer change the price, no longer change the billing interval, and no longer change within the billing a free trial period. All of those things are locked. So if you need to make changes to it, what you would need to do is delete the old payment link and create a new payment link. All right, if you want to include a setup fee, you can always do that too. Okay, I saved my changes, and you see that this is the preview of the payment form. It's very pretty, right? Fits in a mobile view very, very nicely. You can also ask for custom fields. So by default, it's going to ask for the name and for the email address of the user who's subscribing. But if you need additional information like an address or a referral code or something like that, right, you can always add in additional fields for them to choose. All right, so besides subscription payments, you see you can also do one-off payments or donations. That'll be for a later video. Right now, this video is focusing on subscription models. All right, so once you save your changes, right, it takes you back to the payment link section, and then here you can copy the link or view the link or click on this title to edit the link further. So for now, I'm just gonna copy the link, and if you look at the top here, I'm gonna paste it in, and you can see this is the form. So this is the layout of the URL, where you have the name of Payhere, followed by your company name, and then followed by the slug of the payment link that you created. And so we're gonna use this in our Glide app. All right, so I'm gonna copy this link, and then I'll come back to Glide, go to my Users tab in the data editor, and create the payment link. So there's two ways you can do this. You can either use a template column, or you can use a construct URL column. I prefer the construct URL because then I know that my URL is being generated correctly. So I'm going to click construct URL. It's going to ask for the protocol, the host, and the path. So I'm going to just paste it in my link here under the protocol section. But just know your protocol is really just the HTTPS part of it. So I'm going to cut the rest of that out and paste it under host. Okay, host is just the what would have been like the www.website.com. In this case, it's app.payhere.co, right? So I'm gonna copy or cut the rest of that and get rid of the backslash. You don't need to put any backslashes in the construct URL, sorry, forward slashes in the construct URL. Glide does that for you. Okay, and then in the path, I paste the rest of it. So Edtechify, which is my company name, and then monthly subscription demo no trial, which is the slug name for the payment link. All right, and so this then generates this full link like you see here. And you see that this matches exactly the URL of my subscription. See that? Okay, but we want some additional information here. So here I'm going to pop in the person's name. I'm going to pretend that this was already generated via like an onboarding process. Okay, and this will be the payment link. So as part of our link, we also want to pass along the email address of the user as well as the name of the user. So that way they're not typing in something different that doesn't correlate with the user information that they're using to sign into the app, right? So there are 3 parameters we're going to include as part of this link. And I've already memorized what they are, so you can just follow along here, write these down in case you go to create your own link for next time. This is also in the Payhere documentation. If you go to scour their website, you'll be able to find this as well. But the 3 parameters I'm going to use are customer underscore email, and then customer underscore name, and then disable underscore custom underscore fields. So disable custom fields. And so customer email, we're going to replace that with the actual email address of the user. Customer name will be the name. And disable custom fields will be yes. Okay, so then when I hit done, we see now it added that information on as parameters to this URL. And if I come back over here again and just quickly add in a link component, where that link is the payment link, and go to click on it. Okay, we see that was added. It added our customer name and email, but it didn't disable them because that must be customer fields, not custom fields. So disable customer fields, done. Let's try that again. There you go. Okay, so disable customer fields, not custom fields. My apologies. You see now it's grayed out, so I can't change the name and the email address of the person who's paying for the subscription, which is nice because then I definitely know that I can do a relation in Glide where I'm linking the email address of the person who signed in to the person who paid and subscribing for my app. Okay, I highly recommend when you go to test this out for the first time to create a $1 a month subscription link that you will then eventually replace with your actual payment link. Because as we go to set up our Integromat and then set up our payment link automation, we don't want to have to keep paying $100 a month while we're going to go test this, right? Now, what's nice is that when I go to test this, I can pay $1 a month, and then I can dive into my Payhere account and just refund myself and just cancel my stuff. But it's nice to not have to do that with larger amounts of money, especially because this does interface with Stripe, and Stripe will still charge you a 2% fee on top of this. So if you're testing this out with $100 a month, well, 2% of that, you know, you're going to be paying that much money every single time you go to test your account. So start with $1 a month, and then that way you can test it out to your heart's content. Once you get all your integrations set up, then you can just change the payment link. All right, so speaking of the integrations, now that we have our payment link set up, what we need to do is create our integration from the payment link back to our app. When I go to pay $1 a month, all of that information lives under my dashboard here where I can see who's paid and so forth. But we need this information to go back to our spreadsheet that's going to house our app. That way we can determine who's a paying subscriber and who's not, and Glide will recognize that. So the best way to bring this information in that I found is with a service like Zapier or Integromat. For our purposes today, I'm going to use Integromat just because I like using that interface better. It's more visual. So if you haven't yet created an Integromat account, go ahead and click the link below in my description, again, of my affiliate link, and we can both win on that. I appreciate that. So then here's my Integromat. And once you first dive into Integromat, you'll hit your dashboard, right? From here, you'll go ahead and create a new scenario. and you're going to link up your two different services. We're going to link up a webhook service as well as Google Sheets, like so. So these will be the two services we use in order to create our webhook. So I hit continue. Okay, you see that's asking me for the trigger. So our trigger is going to be a webhook. If you're not familiar with webhooks, I have a video which I'll link in the description below about webhooks. But basically, a webhook is a one-way path from one service to another service, right? So in this case, our webhook will be Payhere. Once Payhere recognizes that a subscription has been made, it's going to send that information on a one-way path to some other place. So the webhook is that path, right? So I'm going to start with that webhook. It's going to be a custom webhook, and we can add a new webhook here. So I'm going to add a new webhook. We're going to call this Payhere demo. Save. And you see that it gives you a webhook URL. I'm going to copy this address to the clipboard, come back to my Payhere. Let's see, it's that. Okay. Come back to my Payhere payment links, click on the name to edit, and then go to Advanced tab. And if you scroll down, you see that there's a webhook URL. I'm going to go ahead and paste in that webhook URL from Integromat and hit Save Changes. All right, so now this payment link is talking to my Integromat scenario. So now what I need to do is determine the structure. You see it's listening for the data that will determine the data structure. So what we need to do is trip our Payhere by actually going through with a payment, which is why I highly recommend, again, a $1 subscription to start. Eventually, hopefully, Payhere will release a test payment feature where you can just do a test send to the webhook, but up until then, just do this $1 a month deal. So again, I'm going to dive into the view of the payment link. I'm going to go ahead and fill this out. No peeking. Okay, I clicked pay $1 per month, and we should see in my Integromat that it's going to find, and it says it was successfully determined. Awesome. Oh, one more note before this. In your Payhere link, you do have the option underneath billing to do a free trial period. If you want to have a free trial period, like 7-day free trial for your live payment link, by all means. But for your $1 test payment link, leave this blank because otherwise the Payhere webhook won't generate any sort of payment details because you haven't been charged yet with the free trial. So leave this blank while you're testing, and then for your live payment link, you can go ahead and add this if you so desire. All right, so here I have my payment link, right? I have successfully determined all of the information from coming in from that webhook. And now I have to do some writing of that information back to the spreadsheet that's going to house the app. So what we are eventually going to do is if it's a new user, right, we're going to add their line to the subscriptions tab. But if they're an existing user, I want to update their line. So we need to do a check to see if that user already exists in the subscriptions. All right, so here's how we do that. Back in our Integromat, the first thing we need to do is create a Google Sheets search. So my next module, I'm going to click Add Another Module, and then it'll be Google Sheets, and this one will be a search rows, because we're going to search our subscription sheet to see if that email already exists. You see it's loading the field spreadsheet. Okay, this first initial always takes a little bit longer, especially Google Sheets as well. Okay, it already found my Google connection. If you don't already have a Google connection because you haven't yet set up your Integromat account yet, you would just do the same thing like we did with the webhooks. You'll hit add, you'll sign in with your Google account, and then it'll save that here under your connection so you can use it again later. All right, the spreadsheet I'm going to use is my Payhere demo. It's going to find all the tabs in my sheets. We're looking in the subscription sheet, and we're going to determine, does the email address already exist? So we're going to do a quick little filter here. So we're going to filter the email. Is that email in the spreadsheet is equal to the email coming in? There we go. Okay, so here I'm going to search items, email. So anything that's pink like this, is going to match this webhook color, right? Anything that's green is going to match this Google Sheets. So I'm checking to see, does the email that was just sent, does it match the email address coming in from the webhook? Like so. All right, then from here, it's either going to find an email or it's not going to find an email. And we need to do two different things, right? If it finds an email, then we need to update the row. But if it doesn't find an email, then we need to create a new row. So we need to create a router. So under Tools in Integromat, we can add a router. And you can see just by moving the router, it links it just like that. Then we click the plus in the middle, and you see it now generates two different scenarios for me. And between each of these scenarios, right, I have a little wrench icon that I can click on to to place a filter. So let's have our top path be for new accounts and our bottom path be for existing accounts. Okay, so I'm going to click on the wrench at the top here and set up a filter. Okay, and this filter is going to be where email, so that does the email address that's in the search row. See, box 2 is matching box 2. So does that email exist? So if the email does not exist, right, then we will do a new, do a new add row. Otherwise, we want to find the match. So in this bottom path, we'll set up a filter where the condition will be where the email address is equal to, but I do case insensitive just in case the email address was written differently, right? Is equal to then the email address coming in, like so. All right, you see each of these filters can have a label on it as well. So this could be does not exist. And this Integromat filter could be user does or already exists. Okay. And then the last step here is to add rows or update rows in the spreadsheet. So clicking on this next module, I'm going to click on the Google Sheets. And for this top path, we're going to add a row. Again, we have to go through the rigmarole of selecting our spreadsheet. All right, so the spreadsheet, again, will be my Payhere demo spreadsheet. The sheet will be the subscriptions. It does have headers. And here's where we get to fill in all of our information coming in from the webhook. All right, so email. Use this search items. So I'm going to search for email. There it is. Okay, name. Right? This would be my customer display name here. You can use the display name or just the name, either way. You can just take and drag it in like that. Timestamp paid. Again, so this is why I say don't use the free trial as part of your test account, because otherwise you're not going to get this data coming in. So the timestamp paid, if I search for date, let's see, I see subscription, customer, plan, membership. Let's see, if I say payment type, payment metadata, let's just scroll down, let's find it. Subscription, customer, plan, membership plan. Where's my payment information? So usually there's a section here called payment, and I'm not seeing it for whatever reason. So before I go any further, I'm gonna go ahead and rerun my scenario. I'm gonna pay another $1 here. Let's do process existing and see what comes up. If I dive back into this now, I should see payment structure. If I don't, I'm gonna redo the payment. All right, so paid, membership plan, customer, subscription, membership plan. Oh, there it is, payment. See, there's a whole section here I was missing before. Okay, so payment, we have created at, but really I wanna do the payment, I guess, updated at. Then timestamp updated, this would be for the subscription itself. So for the subscription, updated app, drag this to timestamp updated. Okay, timestamp of the next payment. If I search for the word next, we see the subscription next charge at. We're going to drag that in here. This will determine whether or not it's an active subscription for that user. Very important, this one here. Next, the plan name. So 2 different options here. If I search for name, okay, you see I can get the plan name like so, okay? Or I could search for the word slug and get the plan slug. The slug is the lowercase version of it with hyphen or dashes in between. This is going to be reflective of the URL of the payment link, right? So if you want a uniform lowercase, right, whatever, you can use the slug. Otherwise, if you want just the friendly name, you can grab the name. Makes no difference really, but I'll just choose the name for now. And then the amount. So here's the payment amount. Amount paid will be the amount. Subscription status and paid status, and then the interval. So subscription status, if I type for status, here's the subscription status. This will generate either active or canceled, right, if they cancel their subscription. And then I have payment status. So this will generate either success or failed. Subscription status, you'll also see trialing as well if it's a free trial. Okay, and then lastly is the interval. So interval here is monthly. So it'll generate the word monthly for me. So this is helpful if I have 2 different links, one for yearly and one for monthly. I can quickly see if this is this person a monthly user or a yearly user. All right, so that's it for this one. Hit OK. All right, but if the user already exists, we need to update a row. So for this module down here, we'll do Google Sheets, and then here we're going to update a row. Again, loading the field spreadsheet. We'll again choose our Payhere demo sheet once this loads. So spreadsheet, Payhere demo app. Sheet will be subscriptions. We're going to update that subscription row, and it's going to ask you, okay, which row number are you updating? And that's why we have this search rows here. This search rows generates this row number parameter, which we can drag in there. And then it's going to ask us which values do we want to update. Well, we want to update anything to do with payment, right? So our timestamp paid. So if I search for date maybe, payment updated at. And then timestamp updated, if they update their subscription maybe from monthly to yearly, it'd be nice to know. So we could search for date like so. The next payment we definitely need. Because again, this next charge at field is probably the most important one on here, besides the email. We're not going to update email or name because hopefully that didn't change at all. The plan name, sure, we can change the name of the plan in case they went from monthly to yearly. Amount is always good to put in there, so the amount paid. Payhere does allow you to have partial payments, so this is kind of nice to maybe figure out how far along they are in their payments. And then our statuses. So status, subscription, and payment, and then the interval. Again, helpful if you're doing yearly versus monthly. Less helpful if you only have one type, but it's nice just in case. All right, hit OK. All right, so you saw that I ran that scenario, and you see, that's why I like Integromat so much. It's very visual. You see that it actually follows the path. Here we saw that one webhook came in, it found one search, and it went this route with this filter, and it generated one record here in my Google Sheet. So if I dive back to my Google Sheet, we should see that it's in there, right? It just didn't have the complete information yet because it was the test run. So now what we need to do is do our actual run. So I'm going to delete this information from our subscription sheet, come back to Integromat, and we're going to run once. We're going to listen for new, and let's do another payment here. Okay, paying $1 a month. And now watch this nice little path follow. So here it followed, boom, hit this one, and now we should have all that information in our spreadsheet. We can see that all the information was brought in. I have my timestamp paid, the timestamp of the next payment, most crucial here, right? The email address of the person, and then like their statuses of paid and subscription and so forth, right? So now that we have this, we can build in some logic as to whether or not our users have an active subscription or not in our app. So let's dive back to our Glide app and give it a refresh. Come over here to subscriptions, and we should see this information populate. And what we're going to do is look at this timestamp of the next payment in relation to our email, as long as paid status as well. So we're looking for paid status to be success and not failed. We're looking at to see if the next payment is in the future, right? Because that means that they have an active subscription. And then we're going to generate their email address as a relation to that. So we're going to tap into both this column and for the paid success column. So we're going to look for, first off, did the payment go through? So we're going to call this column active subscription, then email. Let's make camel case. Okay. So first off, if paid status is not success, then we want nothing, because that means that they had a failed payment and they shouldn't have access to our app anymore. Okay, next, if the timestamp of the next payment is in the future, oh, it needs to be a date column. Let's hit done. Timestamp next payment needs to be date time. Okay, back to our if then else. So if timestamp of the next payment is after today, well, it can be on or after today. Okay, then we want their email address. Okay, otherwise blank. All right, so as long as it's a successful payment and their next payment is in the future, meaning that they've already paid for their current window, well, then we're going to generate their email address because they should have an active subscription. And now to determine which user has an active subscription, we relate the email address of our user to this column, this active subscription column. So let's go ahead and do that. In our users tab, we're going to call this to rel active subscriptions. And we're going to relate the email address to the subscription's active subscription email. Done. Okay, from here, if we need to bring in any information we could bring in the plan name, we can bring in some other things, but for our purposes today, this is sufficient. All right, and so now that we can determine that this user is a paid user, now in our content sheet, we need to determine should this user be able to access the content. So it's going to be another if then else. And we'll call this can access. And here's where you come up with all the conditions where they're able to access the content. For example, if this person is an admin to the app, maybe they should be able to access the content whether or not they've paid, right? Okay, otherwise, if the premium content is not true, meaning that it's free, right? Then true, they can access it. Okay, otherwise, we need our user set up. We didn't do that yet. So let's set up user profiles. To do that, come into our settings, privacy, public with email. You can allow the Google account. This also brings me to a point that with free Glide apps, by default, it's going to hide the user email address and generate an anonymous email. I'm cheating for now by just typing in the person's email address manually, but when they go to sign up to your app, this will be some garbage like, fluffybunny123@appuser.io. So it's going to confuse your users because when they go to subscribe, that payment link where it populates their name and email for them automatically, it's going to populate that anonymous user email, which they're not going to recognize, and they're going to think this is some sort of hack, right? So again, that's why you need to go pro when doing subscription apps. All right, that being said, here into the content, now that I have user profiles, I need to, again, set the user profile source sheet. This is the most overlooked place in Glide, right? Once you enable public with email, come back to your layout view, click on the menu, click on your name or your avatar, And then here under user profile, source sheet, choose the user sheet, and it should populate name, email, and image automatically for you. So now that I have that set up, I can come back over to the content and access my user profiles. All right, so can access, if premium content is not true, then true. If user rel active subscriptions is not empty, meaning it found a match to subscriptions, then true, okay, else false. So we can see that because this current user paid for premium content, they can access that content. But if I'm just any old user accessing the app, we see that that is false. Cool, right? All right, and so then lastly here under the content, right, you just set a condition for them to either open this content or navigate to the Join Now screen. So under the list actions, we're not going to do just view details. We're going to create a new action here, and we're going to set a condition where can access is true or not. So if can access is true, well, then they should be able to view the content. We'll do view details. Otherwise, if it's not true, that means that they can't view the content because they are not a paid subscriber, so we should navigate them to our Join Now tab. Okay. If you wanted to have a separate experience for when they click on posts, this could instead be a link to screen, where then you're just redesigning the Join Now screen specific to them clicking on a post, where you could say something like, sorry, you don't have access to this content because you're not a paid user. You could do something like that. I'm keeping it easy and just doing a navigate tab. All right, so we're gonna call this view or join. Save. All right, now because I'm a premium member, right, I should be able to access all of these things, right? But if I'm not a premium member, right, I'll still be able to see them, so it still entices me to click on them. But when I go to click on the premium, you see it now goes to the Join Now tab, which leads me to the last part here is building out your Join Now tab. So what I highly recommend is just making this Join Now tab as pretty as possible, entice them to want to purchase the subscription, right? So you could include things like some bold headers at the top, like Join Now, or ready to be a premium member, right? And then you could have some nice hero image here, right? Then you could have some display text, like what's included, right? You can, so like X, Y, and Z is included in the paid membership, right? And then ultimately what you want is a button that says, you know, join now. And you can give it an icon. You can have it match the tab. And this action is just going to be an open web view action. And we're going to open up that payment link. All right, so join now, right? So then when they click on this, they'll see the pay here information. See that? And so then them filling out the form and paying $1 per month, they'll hit done. And while that's processing, all that information is taken care of in the back end, where it's adding their user information here to the subscription sheet. And then they'll eventually gain access to the tab. You might want to put a disclaimer on here, again, because the only fault to all of this is that it takes about 10 seconds or so from the spreadsheet information here to hit the app, right? So you might want to put a little disclaimer on here that says, after joining, please wait up to 30 seconds for premium content to be accessible or something like that. But you did it. You created a membership app using Payhere and Integromat. If you haven't yet signed up for either of those platforms, check out the description below for my affiliate links. If you need any help, leave me a comment or reach out to me at Twitter at @rpetito. And as always, thanks for watching.